Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through stacks of insights to bring you the knowledge that really counts. I've often wondered, what is it that truly separates people who achieve real long-term success in these super complex fields, especially when they hit roadblocks, maybe even, fail completely. We tend to focus on tactics, strategies, maybe even raw talent. But what if there's something deeper, something about how you think, about what you do, and maybe even more importantly, how you think about yourself? So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're digging into that powerful, often kind of overlooked ingredient, and we're anchoring this in Carol Dweck's really groundbreaking work, especially her book Mindset. Plus, how these ideas play out in really high stakes areas like trading or investing, which some of our other sources cover. We're basically unpacking the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. It changes how you see everything, really.
Yeah, exactly. And what's so powerful, I think, about Dweck's research and what these sources highlight is that, well, you can have the best strategy ever, right? Access to all the info, deep technical skills. But if that underlying mindset is, let's say, fixed, it can just completely derail you. It's really not just about what you know, it's so much about how you approach learning, how you face challenges, and crucially, how you deal with setbacks, which are, let's face it, inevitable. This isn't just some soft skill, it's truly foundational.
Okay, so let's get into the weeds here. Dweck
Mhm.
talks about these two completely different ways people operate. And our materials, especially the ones focused on trading and investing, they kick off by saying, look, best strategy in the world, mindset's off. You can trip yourself up.
Right. And the
Mm.
contrast is, well, it's pretty stark when you lay it out. You've got the fixed mindset on one side. This is basically the belief that your abilities, intelligence, talent, skills, they're just fixed, like they're carved in stone. So if you hit a big failure, the conclusion you draw deep down is often, well, I'm just not talented enough, or I don't have what it takes. Any setback isn't seen as like a learning opportunity, it's seen as proof. Direct proof of your unchangeable limits. Your identity gets all tangled up with your performance.
Yeah, totally. And then the flip side is the growth mindset. And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. Here, the core belief is totally different. It's that your abilities, your intelligence, they aren't fixed at all. They're things you can actually cultivate. You can develop them through effort, through learning, through just sticking with it, perseverance. It's a fundamentally different way of looking at your potential, right? And how you approach challenges. It shifts that internal voice from, oh, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, to something more like, okay, I can't do this yet, but I can figure it out. So let's make this concrete. Let's take trading and investing, like our sources do. Super intense field. Imagine a new trader, okay? They walk in with a fixed mindset, what's going on in their head. Our source gives some classic examples. They might think, oh, I'm just not a natural chart reader or risk management. That's just too complicated for me. And then the real killer thought, if I lose big, it just proves I wasn't cut out for this. I don't have the gift. You can almost feel the weight of that, can't you?
Absolutely. And connecting that back, that perspective is just incredibly limiting. And honestly, pretty dangerous in a field that absolutely demands you adapt. Our sources make a clear point. A lot of potentially good traders stuck in that fixed mindset, they just quit, maybe after just a few big losses, because they see that failure as like a personal judgment on their inherent mobility or lack of it. They internalize it completely. It becomes about who they are, not what happened in the market. It's this idea that trading skill is, something you're born with or you're not. You can't learn it, can't build it. And just to clarify something you mentioned, host, a blown account, that just means losing pretty much all the money in their trading account. Happens, unfortunately.
Exactly. It's black and white for them. You either have it or you don't. And that's just a terrible place to be mentally, isn't it? Especially where learning, resilience, adapting, they're not optional. They're essential. Our sources are really clear on this. Every single successful trader, every experienced investor, they've all faced huge losses. Yes, even blown accounts. They've all wrestled with those tough emotions. The difference maker isn't some magic talent they were born with. It's the mindset they bring to those inevitable bumps in the road. Okay, so let's flip that coin. How does someone with a growth mindset operate differently in that same scenario? The picture our sources paint is, well, it feels much more empowering. Instead of seeing a loss as final proof they're no good, they completely reframe it. A growth-minded person thinks, okay, losses aren't failures, they're just expensive lessons. Or maybe every single trade, win or lose, gives me valuable data, feedback. And crucially, they believe, yeah, I can definitely learn better risk management. I can develop more discipline. I can improve my strategy over time, even if it feels really hard right now.
Hmm.
It's not just positive thinking.
It shifts the whole focus from judgment to, well, curiosity.
And this really begs the question, what's the actual result of thinking this way? What happens differently in practice? Well, instead of crawling into a hole after a bad trade, the growth minded trader actually digs in, almost like a scientist. They get past the sting and start asking specific, useful questions. Okay, what exactly can I learn here? What part of my system broke down? How can I improve my process? Not just why am I so stupid? It's this proactive diagnostic thing. It turns those painful setbacks from defeats into really valuable data points. And what's really powerful, as you touched on, is this idea of losses being like tuition fees for their market education. Suddenly, they're investing in their future skills, not just absorbing a financial hit.
I love that framing. Tuition fees, it completely lifts that heavy emotional burden of loss, doesn't it? Instead of shame, it's like, okay, paid for that lesson, noted.
Yeah.
And speaking of emotions, our sources really emphasize resilience and emotional control, especially in trading, which is just inherently uncertain. You can't control the market itself.
You really can't. And it's fascinating how the two mindsets handle that chaos differently. Someone with a fixed mindset, they tend to fight uncertainty. They need those consistent wins because their self worth is riding on it. So any loss feels like a personal attack, almost. But the growth mindset, it kind of embraces uncertainty, accepts it as just part of the deal. They understand, okay, can't control the market swings, but I can control my process, my risk rules, how I react emotionally, and how I learn from it all.
Yeah.
The focus shifts, from trying to conquer the uncontrollable market outside to mastering your internal game. Your process refinement, way more empowering. Moving from being reactive to being proactive.
That's such a key difference.
Yeah.
Shifting your energy from battling the market to mastering yourself within it. Okay, so we get it. Growth mindset is better. But how do you actually, develop one? Especially if you feel kind of stuck in a fixed pattern. Our sources give some really practical steps, things tested in the real world. The first one sounds simple, but it's huge. Reframe failure. Stop calling it failure. Call it feedback.
Yeah, this might be one of the most practical, but also one of the hardest things for people to really internalize. Because the words we use, even just in our own heads, they really do shape how we feel and react. So, consciously relabeling failure as feedback, it strips away so much of that negative emotional stuff. The shame, the blame, that feeling of finality. Suddenly, it's not an endpoint, it's just data, input for the next attempt. For a trader, that means looking closely. Was it my timing? Did I risk too much? Was my stop loss in the wrong place? Instead of, man, I failed, it becomes, okay, what is this result telling me about my system or how I executed it? It turns it from a personal judgment into like a technical problem to solve.
That's a neat mental trick. And building on that, another step they highlight is celebrate small wins. It's not always about the giant profits or the home runs. Just improving your discipline, maybe sticking to your plan when you really wanted to deviate, managing emotions better when things get choppy, or even spotting a new pattern. Our sources say these little victories, they're just as important, maybe even more so, than the big score. They reinforce that the effort, the process, the small steps forward, they actually matter.
Oh, absolutely critical, especially for keeping motivation up in fields where, let's be real, big wins can be few and far between, and losses are just part of the game. Our brains need those little rewards, right? If we only celebrate the massive outcome, the huge profit, we set ourselves up for this boom and bust emotional cycle, leads to burnout. But if you consciously pat yourself on the back for the small process stuff like, hey, I followed my risk rules perfectly today, or I actually did my trade journaling, or even just I got up and did my prep work. You're reinforcing the behaviors that actually build success over time. It's like building this positive feedback loop that tells your brain, yeah, this effort is paying off. I am getting better, which is pure growth mindset fuel. It validates the journey.
Right? Makes sense. Then there's seek knowledge, not perfection. That feels really relevant, especially with markets changing constantly. In any complex area, particularly one like investing that's always evolving, learning isn't just nice to have. Our sources call it the edge. If you're chasing some mythical idea of perfection, the perfect strategy, the perfect entry point, you can actually get stuck.
Paralyzed.
Miss opportunities.
Precisely. That chase for perfection that doesn't exist, it's incredibly paralyzing. Leads straight to analysis paralysis, right? Or being terrified of making any mistake. Or just rigidly sticking to old ways because they used to be perfect. A growth mindset, though, because it prioritizes learning, automatically accepts that things change. It gets that knowledge isn't some fixed thing you achieve, it's an ongoing process. It values being adaptable, picking up new skills, being open to new info, way more than trying to maintain some perfect state that's, frankly, impossible in the markets. We've seen it, right? Investors who made a killing with one approach then just refused to learn or adapt as things shifted, and eventually it cost them. Their fixed mindset trapped them.
And the last one they mention is really crucial, I think, for anyone in high-stakes stuff, especially with money on the line. Detach ego from trades. The source puts it bluntly. A losing trade does not make you a bad trader. It's just one data point. This kind of circles back to reframing failure, doesn't it? Understanding your self-worth isn't or shouldn't be tied to the outcome of one single trade, or even a bunch of them.
Yeah, this is maybe one of the biggest steps towards real emotional resilience. It tackles some deep psychology. When your ego, your sense of self, is wrapped up in your trade outcomes, every loss feels personal, like an insult. And that triggers defenses, right? You might refuse to admit you were wrong, maybe even double down on a losing position just to prove a point, or blame anything but your own process. This ego thing just amplifies all those cognitive biases we hear about: confirmation bias, looking only for stuff that agrees with you, or sunk cost fallacy, throwing good money after bad. Detaching your ego, it lets you be more rational, more analytical. You can see the trade for what it is: a probabilistic bet, not a test of your intelligence or worth. It's incredibly freeing, actually.
So, okay, we focus a lot on trading examples, but our sources also point out how this whole mindset thing deeply impacts investing more broadly too, right? Especially over the long haul. Markets change, industries get disrupted, companies pivot, economies cycle. It's constant flux. If you approach investing with that fixed mindset, thinking, oh, I already knew everything about this stock, or this is the strategy, you're pretty much guaranteed to miss things. You'll cling to old ideas, ignore new threats or opportunities, get blindsided.
Absolutely. That's where you really see the long-term difference. An investor stuck in a fixed mindset might rigidly hold on to old valuation models, maybe dismiss new tech because it challenges what they thought they knew or contradicts their past wins. You hear it, well, this is how I've always done it and it worked before. But the growth-minded investor, they see those shifts as like an invitation to learn more. They adapt, they explore new ways to value things, they research those emerging industries, they keep tweaking their approach as the world changes. They don't see market shifts as a threat to their knowledge, but as, new territory to explore, new puzzles to solve, potential growth. It's really the difference between being a stagnant pond of old knowledge and a flowing river of continuous learning.
Yeah, that adaptability, that curiosity, and maybe a bit of humility too, knowing there's always more to learn and that learning is the advantage. Our sources really hammer home Carol Dweck's main point. Your mindset truly does shape your path. And trading, investing, or really any tough thing you try to do,
Yeah.
that mindset is what determines if you push through the hard times or just give up too soon, abandoning what you could have achieved.
Exactly right. I think the core message, the big takeaway from all this, for anyone tackling complex stuff, whether it's markets, a new skill, a language, excelling at work, is this: your abilities, your skills. They are absolutely, unequivocally not fixed. They're dynamic, they're fluid. You can constantly develop them, refine them, expand them through consistent, deliberate effort, through dedicated learning, and maybe most importantly, through being willing to see every experience, good or bad, as a chance to grow. It's really about understanding your potential isn't some fixed ceiling. It's more like a horizon you keep moving towards.
So pulling these threads together, wow, we've really seen how fundamentally different these two mindsets, fifth and growth, actually are, and how that distance can literally chart your course, personally and professionally. It dictates whether you stick it out or check out early. This deep dive, drawing on Dweck's work and how it applies in these intense environments, it really shines a light on that, doesn't it? So, okay, what does this mean for you listening right now as you navigate your own learning path, tackle your next big project, or even just deal with a small frustration today? Is there one area, maybe just one, where you might be holding on to a bit of a fixed mindset? And what if? What if you tried reframing it with a growth perspective? What new doors might that open? Just think about consciously relabeling failure as feedback. How could that one shift change your entire approach to the next challenge you face? Could turn frustration into fuel, maybe? The possibilities are kind of endless once you start looking for growth everywhere.